Hey guys, this is a little bit of a story here to this video. I was playing some Call of Duty with my buddy Strong, and I got into a game with a guy, and he asked me, "Hey, how do you love yourself?" He asked that question because my gamer tag in Call of Duty is I love myself. And I talked with the guy for the whole game, and he just seemed kind of lost. I gave him some advice, and I hope it reached him well. But it's what kind of urged me to make this video, and I feel like a lot of people could understand and learn from the experience that I've had, learning to love myself. And once I have learned to love myself, I feel like I could accomplish just about anything in this world. I feel confident, I feel happy, and I'm ready for the next chapter of my life. So, the first little bit of advice that I can give is that understanding that only you are going to be there for your entire life for you. Nobody else. Nobody's going to be there for your entire life. That's going to be there, like David Goggins says, like through the darkest of darks, you're only going to have yourself. I listened to him a little bit. He gets a little bit over the top for what I like, but he's someone you could want to listen to. He's a little bit more about just like not liking other people and liking yourself instead. I feel like there's a good balance between the two. But one quote that I heard him say is that like in the darkest of times, you're there only for like your only person that's going to be there is you. And that really has stuck with me for my entire life. Well, since I heard it, which was like a year ago, but like you're only going to be there for yourself. Why would you not want to love yourself? And the way where I differ from David Goggins is other people do matter. I feel like a big kind of thing that he has going on, little undertone, is like saying people don't really matter that much, and that he's like better than everybody else, and he wants to work harder than everybody else. I'm saying people do matter, but to love other people, you need to love yourself first. So other people matter. You want to have a good friend group, and they should all be benefiting you in a good way. If say you're playing some Call of Duty, and people are being really toxic as they do in the game, what I do at least is I just ignore them. I mute them, or I don't really respond unless I feel urged to. Which sometimes goofing off with some guys, you could troll them a little bit, but really that negative energy is not something that I like as myself to keep around. And then on the topic of keeping around is if you have some friends and they're not really friends, they're there, you feel like they could be potentially using you, like don't keep them around. You could drop them. I mean, it's better in the long run. You don't want to I think when I think of friends, I think quantity does not matter. I think if you have a couple really solid friends that you can really trust with anything, I feel like you could be set. You don't need tens and hundreds and thousands of friends or whatnot. I feel like you should always just have those couple that you can trust with anything. Those couple that you believe that you really have a good connection with, and that you can be friends with. Sorry, kind of rambling on. All right, next. This is a little bit counteracting my last point, but being a part of stuff. If you're feeling like you're worthless, like that guy I was talking with, he was talking about how could you love yourself if you feel worthless? How could you love yourself if you feel like you're not good enough? My advice to that is being a part of something. Either let that be, if you're in school, a club. That's what I did in high school. I got a part of a club, even though it was a little nerdy. I still did it, and I felt happy. They bring you in. They don't tear you down and stuff like that. And you don't need to be friends with all of them. You can use them for the community. You can be a part of the community and still kind of keep your distance. You don't need to get all personal with them. But being a part of something really helps. Sports, that's a great way. I know I've played baseball pretty much all my life, and sports teams are pretty much what got me through like my younger years when I was little and stuff like that. That's I would look forward to going playing some sports with them. It was really a great experience. Sports teams are amazing, and I don't know, as long as it's not a toxic area, I mean, sometimes it can be a little toxic masculinity, but you know, it's nothing that bad. I mean, I don't know. If it's really that bad, don't be afraid to leave stuff. If they're bad, don't be afraid to leave stuff. When I was in high school, I dropped multiple classes because the teachers there were awful. Like I wasn't afraid to tell, like, just say no, I'm good. I'm gonna leave. Distancing, distancing yourself, I think, is one of the best things you can do if when you're dealing with somebody who you don't enjoy, that you don't have a major connection with. Of course, you can't just do that with everybody. Like, say you have a wife or a girlfriend, you can't just distance yourself. You need to talk with them because that's not going to make the relationship last. But if it's somebody like a teacher or a guy you just met on Call of Duty, I feel like distancing yourself can be a great way to help yourself in that way. Not deal with that for as long as it. Try to minimize the contact with that person. One thing also is feeling accomplished. That's something that that's where I get some of my happiness from, is feeling accomplished, doing something you thought you couldn't do. Just going out and doing it, putting your all into something, whether that be something as little as riding a bike up a hill. That was something all summer I was dealing with. I biked to my work, and there was this massive hill that I could never get up. And one day I was like, okay, I'm just going to go for it. I put my bike in a high gear. I could barely make it up in gear one. I put it in a high gear, and I gunned it. I told myself, no, I'm not going to stop. I made it. And at the top of that hill, I felt accomplished. I felt happy. I felt proud. Doing something that makes you proud, you feel accomplished doing is great. You learn yourself. You push yourself. And that's another step to loving yourself, is if you keep pushing yourself, if you keep disciplined, it's a big thing. You can feel like you are in control. You are doing what you want to do. And at the end of the day, it's happy. You're happy. You don't feel guilt when you're going to bed, thinking that you played video games for 10 hours a day when you could have been studying for your classes. For me, I think study should come before games, stuff like that, or work before games. Just getting a hold of that and being more connected and being more disciplined is a very big, important thing. Another thing with dudes is being competitive. That's, I don't know. All my life, I've never really understood being competitive, but I understand it in the scene of sports, you wanting to win. I understand that, but being competitive with other guys for just no reason, like looking better than a guy or smelling better than a guy or being richer, being competitive, the competition won't do you any good in the long run. Like, so what? You look better than this guy. What's that guy gonna do for you though? I am competitive with myself. I try and set my own records, try and set my own goals, and timing myself when I do a run, running 4 miles and before I gas, and seeing if I can do better than that in a week. Stuff like that. That's what really gets me going. That gets me happy. I'm competitive with myself. Being competitive with other people doesn't really do much, because who knows what those other people are dealing with? It doesn't really matter if you beat somebody in something. You're not growing that way. You're just better than the person. It doesn't do anything. I think bettering yourself will do you way more good in the long run. Another thing is having those people, whether that be family or friends, if you've known them long enough, or, significant others, that you can always talk to, that you can always come back to, that you can always be there for and there for you. I feel like understanding that. Sorry, I distracted myself a little bit there. I was checking if I was still recording. Let's redo that real quick. Hold on. We're doing no cuts, nothing. It's having somebody, family there that you can talk to, that you can understand. No, what? Somebody that you can talk to, that understands you, that knows you, that you can tell if you're having a hard time. And if you don't have that person, like mom or dad, or grandpa or grandma, or significant other, or just friends in general, that you feel that you can talk to, a therapist is always a good answer. At least for most people. Some people may not be there, but for me, therapy has been a counselor, a therapist, anybody can be a great way to just learn as a person. And you don't have to do it forever. I had a therapist for like 2 months, and I'm still doing the things he told me that would help me, and they have. You don't need to have them forever. They can be expensive. There's ones that can be like government issued, stuff like that. There's less expensive ones. You can always do that. And just one thing that I've stuck with me that helps me deal with motivation and blanking on the word motivation and discipline is, he told me this exact phrase: what would future me think about how I spent that time? If you think about, like, say in 3 or 4 months, what are you going to think about that? How are you going to feel that you spent X time on video games when you could have been doing something else? I'm not saying video games are bad. Video games are great. I just feel like limiting them and not playing them all the time is a great way to better yourself as a person. Doing things like going outside, biking around. That's my favorite thing to do right now is biking. I love it. What it's called, talking with people, meeting with people, cooking, great. I love cooking. Just learning a new skill in general. I know I spent like during the pandemic, I spent tons of time learning how to yo-yo because that was something I hadn't done since I was a kid. But all right, kind of getting a little off track here. Just learning new things, finding people to talk to. Okay. Now on to girls. So, my experience with girls is they can be very beneficial to your mental health. But at the same time, you don't want control. You don't want them to take over. You don't want to be dropping things that are important to you. Say that you've built up sports or you have friends that are important to you, and you don't want to be dropping those for one person. If they're demanding unreasonable things, I understand giving significant others time is a very important thing, and giving them the attention and need that they deserve, right, is important. Of course, having a girlfriend or wife or boyfriend or husband, depending on who's watching this video, is a very, very, it can be beneficial. Having a family is like the biggest dream of mine. That's what I want in my future. That's my only dream. Well, not my only dream, but that's my biggest dream. So, of course, there's always going to be good, but you don't want to be dropping everything for them. I remember I had an ex when I was in high school, and I dropped all my friends, all my sports, dropped about everything for them. And I was after the relationship was over, even though it lasted through high school, after that I was very lonely for the longest time. I couldn't do anything because I had dropped all my friends. I had lost everything after that. And even if the relationship is going to last forever, you don't want them to be your only life. You want to have other things you can do. You want things that can make you feel happy. Because having a significant other is somebody who can love you, but deep down you need to love yourself. And doing things that make you feel happy, that make you feel proud, that make you feel accomplished is a great way for you to love yourself. And yeah, I feel like loving yourself is the biggest priority. Before you go love other people, before you go, I don't know. My mom told me this when I was like very little, when I was in like middle school. She's like, you need to understand yourself, you need to love yourself before you go love other people, before you try and, you know, have a girlfriend or whatnot, middle school girlfriend or something like that. But just along those lines, you need to be completely content with yourself. You need to be put together. You need to be a functioning human being, You need to be doing your best. You need to love yourself. That's about it.